Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders finally reached their Week 12 bye week. But make no mistake, this is far from a true break for the organization. With a disappointing 3-8 start to the season, the team is facing a crossroads in multiple areas, and none more pressing than the health and potential return of quarterback Jaden Daniels, who suffered a significant elbow injury earlier in the season, has been a central figure in the team's struggles and hopes, and now, as the bye week gives the coaching staff time to reassess, the stakes have never been higher. Head coach Dan Quinn has been transparent about the process, indicating that the team will have an update on Daniels' status coming out of the bye week, and that the decision on whether he plays again this season could hinge on what that evaluation reveals, with the postseason effectively out of reach. Every decision regarding Daniels is as much about his long-term development and career health as it is about the immediate performance of the team, according to multiple NFL insiders. There is one overriding factor that will dictate the Commanders' path forward: time. The timeline for Daniels' recovery, and how long the team believes it will take to get him back on the field safely, is the ultimate determinant in whether he suits up for the remainder of the season or sits down to protect his future. The debate around Daniels' return is already shaping up to dominate discussions within the organization. Reports from ESPN insiders Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano highlight the complexity of the situation. Graziano notes that the plan in Washington, at least officially, is for Daniels to return to the starting lineup once he receives medical clearance. That seems straightforward. But Fowler provides a more nuanced view, explaining that while Daniels might be ready to return as early as 3 weeks post-injury, the team has prepared for the possibility that his absence could stretch to 5 or 6 weeks. This buffer is not arbitrary. It reflects concerns about Daniels' durability this season, given that he has already sustained multiple injuries, and the current standing of the team, which makes immediate returns less critical. These differing perspectives illustrate a tension between hope and caution, one that has been at the heart of the Commanders' season-long struggles. The common denominator, however, is that time is everything. How quickly Daniels heals, how his elbow responds to treatment, and how much risk the team is willing to tolerate in the final weeks will ultimately decide his fate. The potential return of Daniels raises further questions about timing and effectiveness. If the worst-case scenario unfolds and Daniels takes the full 5 or 6 weeks to return, his comeback would land in Week 16 against the Philadelphia Eagles, leaving him with only 3 games to make an impact before the season ends. This is where the conversation shifts from purely medical concerns to strategic football considerations. Are 3 games worth the risk of re-injury? Can Daniels meaningfully contribute in a passing game that has struggled to find consistency all season, especially with a depleted roster and uncertainty around key targets like Terry McLaurin? These are not theoretical questions, they are the real-world calculations the coaching staff must weigh, balancing the desire to see their young quarterback play with the reality that the team's offensive system has underperformed even with him under center. The last thing the Commanders want is for Daniels to return prematurely and be forced into a situation where he has to play hero ball, exposing himself to further injury while not gaining the developmental benefit that comes from meaningful practice and continuity with the starting unit, even beyond the immediate tactical considerations. Daniels' situation shines a light on the broader state of the Commanders' offense this season. The team has been plagued by injuries and inconsistencies, particularly in the passing game, where the lack of reliable targets has been glaring. The offensive line has had difficulty providing consistent protection, which only compounds the challenge for a quarterback returning from an elbow injury. For Daniels, the decision to return is not just about personal readiness, it's about the context in which he will be stepping back onto the field. Returning too early into a struggling offensive unit could undermine his confidence, hinder his development, and risk additional physical setbacks. On the other hand, sitting out the final games allows him to continue his recovery in a controlled environment, focusing on strength, mobility, and technique without the added pressure of carrying a team that is out of playoff contention. Time, in this sense, becomes a dual factor. It dictates the physical healing process and frames the strategic decision-making for the coaching staff. How much time is needed to ensure Daniels returns fully healthy? How much time can the team afford to wait given their current position in the standings? These are questions That will define the narrative of Daniels' season and potentially his trajectory with the franchise. The broader implications for the Commanders extend beyond just Daniels' elbow. A cautious approach could signal a shift in how the team manages injuries moving forward, prioritizing long-term player health over short-term gains. Particularly for young quarterbacks who represent the future of the franchise, it also speaks to the team culture under Dan Quinn, emphasizing medical guidance and strategic prudence over impulsive decisions. Conversely, rushing Daniels back, even with medical clearance, could reflect a different philosophy, a win-now mentality even when the playoffs are out of reach, which could have repercussions for team morale and trust in the medical staff. Fans and analysts alike are watching closely, weighing the potential benefits of a late-season return against the very real risks. For Daniels, the decision is deeply personal, balancing his competitive drive with professional longevity. A quarterback of his talent and potential cannot afford to compromise his future for a handful of inconsequential games, no matter how eager he may be to return to the field. Ultimately, the Commanders' approach to Jaden Daniels' health and potential return encapsulates the delicate balancing act faced by NFL teams when injuries intersect with season trajectories. The situation underscores the importance of patience, careful medical evaluation, and strategic foresight in managing players whose long-term careers are at stake. Time remains the dominant factor, not just in terms of healing, but in the broader calculus of team dynamics, offensive effectiveness, and player development. Whether Daniels will return for the final stretch of the season or be shut down entirely will hinge on medical clearance, but also on whether the coaching staff believes those games serve any meaningful purpose for a player who has already endured a tumultuous season. As the bye week concludes and the team regroups, all eyes will be on Washington, watching how they navigate one of the most pivotal decisions of their year. Daniels' next steps, cautious or bold, will not only define the closing chapter of this season but also set the tone for how the Commanders approach the health and future of their franchise quarterback moving forward. In the end, the narrative is clear. Recovery takes time, and in the unforgiving world of the NFL, time is a luxury that must be managed wisely. The Commanders, their coaching staff, and Daniels himself are now at that critical intersection where patience, strategy, and medical insight converge, shaping not just the remainder of this season, but the trajectory of what comes next for the team and its young leader. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Breaking news just landed in the NFL world, and if you've been following the rumor mill closely, you know this is one of those moves that could send shockwaves through the league. The Cowboys linebacker DeMarvion Overshown has reportedly closed a deal with the Washington Commanders. Yes, you heard that right, Overshown, one of the most talked about young defenders in Dallas, might be making a switch that nobody really saw coming, at least not this fast. The whispers started quietly in locker rooms and among insiders, and now they've exploded into headlines. People are asking, what does this mean for both teams, and more importantly, how will this reshape the dynamics in the NFC East? Overshown, a player known for his athleticism and versatility, has been a staple in Dallas defensive schemes. He's had moments where he flashed brilliance, whether it was chasing down running backs from sideline to sideline or breaking up plays in coverage that seemed destined for big gains. Analysts have long debated his potential and whether he could be a franchise-defining talent if given the right circumstances, but now the narrative is shifting. The Commanders, a team that has been quietly aggressive in reshaping their roster, seem to have identified Overshown as a critical piece in their defensive puzzle. Sources suggest that the discussions weren't just casual, there was a genuine mutual interest. Commanders management has reportedly been keeping tabs on him for months, and the timing finally aligned with the Cowboys' willingness to let him explore new opportunities. The intrigue doesn't end there. Some insiders hint that Overshown's departure could be part of a larger strategic plan by Dallas. Could it be salary cap maneuvering? Is it a shift in defensive philosophy? Or maybe it's something deeper, a reflection of the front office's long-term vision for the team that's still being kept under wraps. Meanwhile, Commanders fans are buzzing with excitement, imagining how Overshown's skill set could fit into their schemes. He's a player who brings speed, aggression, and a certain instinctive feel for the game that isn't easy to teach. There's a sense that Washington might finally be adding a missing piece to a defense that's had its fair share of highs and lows over the past seasons. Of course, as with any rumor this big, There are layers. Sources close to the situation have been careful with their words. But the general consensus is that this is more than a trial balloon. Overshown himself has reportedly expressed interest in the move, intrigued by the chance to showcase his talent in a new environment, the locker room dynamics, the coaching staff's philosophy, and the defensive scheme all seem to line up in a way that could make this a career-defining moment for him. Social media is already lighting up. Fans from both sides are debating the move, some questioning the Cowboys' decision, others praising the Commanders' ambition. The discussion ranges from X's and O's to the more intangible elements: leadership, locker room presence, and the culture shift that a single player can bring. There's even talk that Overshown's arrival in Washington could influence other potential moves in the league. Teams often react when a young, dynamic player like this changes uniforms, triggering a domino effect in free agency and trades. Rumors are already circulating that other teams might reconsider their linebacker strategies, or even look to scoop up similar talent before the market becomes too competitive. Of course, nobody is officially confirming the finer details yet, and that's what makes this story so juicy. The NFL thrives on speculation, and this particular rumor has all the ingredients: talent, timing, team strategy, and a touch of the unexpected. Analysts are dissecting every angle, wondering how Overshown will mesh with the Commanders' defensive line and what kind of role he'll play in key matchups. Will he be an every-down linebacker, or will the coaching staff utilize him in specialized packages that highlight his speed and instincts? The speculation is endless, and that's what keeps fans glued to every update. Inside sources hint that Overshown's skill set could immediately impact the team's pass rush and coverage schemes. His ability to read plays, anticipate movements, and react with explosive speed is exactly what the Commanders have been seeking. They might have found a player who not only fills a gap on paper, but also elevates the overall level of competition and performance in practice, creating a ripple effect throughout the roster. Meanwhile, Cowboys fans are left to ponder the what-ifs. Could Dallas have maximized his potential differently? Was there a philosophical clash? Or was it simply the reality of NFL roster management and timing? Whatever the case, the narrative is already forming in media outlets, podcasts, and fan forums. This is not just a player change. It's potentially a turning point for both franchises, and the story doesn't stop with the field. Overshown's move carries marketing and cultural implications as well. Player branding, fan engagement, and even merchandise sales could see shifts as supporters react to the news. The human side of the story is just as compelling. Adjusting to a new city, integrating into a new locker room, and adapting to different coaching methods are challenges that can define a player's trajectory. There's an undeniable aura of anticipation around Overshown's next steps. Will he rise to the occasion in Washington, becoming a key figure in their defensive identity? Or will the transition present unforeseen challenges that test his adaptability and resilience? Rumors suggest that the Commanders' front office is highly confident, banking on both his talent and character to make an immediate impact. The energy in the league's rumor mill is palpable. Experts are already drawing comparisons to past high-profile linebacker moves, analyzing statistics, and projecting defensive matchups. Fans are debating whether this acquisition could tilt the balance of power in the division. Conversations are moving beyond the basics. It's no longer just about one player's performance. It's about team chemistry, strategic foresight, and the intangible spark that a single piece of the puzzle can ignite. As the story unfolds, the buzz continues to grow. Every tweet, every insider update, every cryptic post from team accounts adds fuel to the fire. The NFL thrives on anticipation, and Overshown's potential move to the Commanders has all the hallmarks of a narrative that will dominate discussion for weeks. Whether it ends up being a defining success or a calculated risk that doesn't pan out, the ripple effects are already being felt. Fans, analysts, and players alike are watching closely, aware that sometimes a single move like this can change the course of a season or even a career. The combination of talent, timing, and intrigue makes this story irresistible, as locker rooms buzz with speculation and coaching staffs fine-tune strategies. The rumor of DeMarvion Overshown in a Commanders uniform is becoming more than just chatter. It's a storyline that could redefine expectations and shift the dynamics of one of the NFL's most competitive divisions. It's the kind of rumor that invites endless analysis, debate, and anticipation, keeping the league alive in the imaginations of fans everywhere. as everyone waits to see if the whispers will solidify into a reality that nobody will forget. The NFL landscape is never static, and stories like this remind us just how quickly fortunes and narratives can change. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.